Hello there. Are you a teacher seeking a fun-filled activity to re-energize your classroom? Do your students have potential, but the cogs just aren't spinning? Well, look no further, my dear, for this Powtoon has the answer. But first, what is teaching? Ideal pedagogy and professional role. Teaching is the occupation of a teacher, educating students so that they may become functional citizens of society. Ideal pedagogy is simply whatever may be considered the best method of teaching at any given time, and professional role is the expected function of a member of a particular profession. Throughout this Powtoon, we will be discussing physical, social, emotional, and intellectual needs of students aged 10 to 12, the socio-cultural issues of diversity regarding language and cultural barriers in the classroom, and how to adapt the classroom setting and content to suit the needs of students without excluding or separating them from each other.
As general psychological growth, most children will begin to go through the process of puberty between the ages of 10 to 12. During this period of age, children will experience rapid growth throughout their body, especially in terms of their muscles, bones, and nerves. These developments better ready the children for the exploration and interaction of their world. And partly these physical changes are the psychological aspects which better their ability to use their bodily functions, i.e. hand-to-eye coordination. These changes in their body will coincide with the changes in their social behaviour too. Children will begin to develop more complex and emotional relationships with their friends, peers, and will begin to rely on them for social fulfillment in favour of their parents. Psychologically, during this age period, children begin to go through drastic cognitive progressions, elements including children beginning to have better understanding and focus upon the present, being able to conceptualize ideas of long-term effects, social transparency, perspective, and interpretation.
Our activity addresses each of these developments in varying degrees, but also supports students in language development, an important notion for students who suffer from language barriers. Essentially, the activity forces students to multitask in almost every domain. Physically, the students practice their reflex abilities in catching and passing the ball, as well as their hand-eye coordination. Intellectually, the students have to remember each word said before themselves in order to conjure an appropriate word that adds to the story. Socially and emotionally, the activity allows students to interact with each other in a game that demands cooperation. Students who suffer from language barriers are given an opportunity to evaluate and apply their limited vocabulary in a fun and supportive way.
Students who face language barriers are in a position of educational disadvantage. These students face the task of learning a second language and trying to get an education at the same time. Their ability to process new information is severely limited by the level of language they do understand, and delayed by the time it takes for them to engage the appropriate translation. Academics aside, the students face the added struggle of attempting to socialize and make friends without the proper means of verbal communication available to them. Should these students face severe struggles with social integration, there then exists the added potential of emotional distress and delayed cognitive growth. Students who fail to assimilate into their classrooms and/or make friends face even further difficulty with their education, as their subconscious and conscious minds are distracted by their more prevalent challenges. Ailments, such as anxiety and emotional distress, are equally as insidious. Studies have shown that social, emotional, and physical deprivations will detract from students' desire and ability to concentrate on academic tasks until they are alleviated.
Language barriers in the classroom are no new feat, though with the turbulent political state of the world for the past 2 decades, they are an issue which have become more common. Language is a method of communication, integral to cognitive development, socialization, and expression. It is a fundamental aspect of humanity. Unlike physical growth, language development is spurred by social interaction and guidance. It doesn't just happen. The language we learn is dependent on the primary language or languages of our household and what is taught to us by our guardians. When people migrate to countries that practice different from the migrants, the process of learning a second language is arduous and slow. Put simply, language barriers exist when two people speak different languages but wish to interact and communicate.
So when choosing an activity to conduct with your students, it's important to choose an activity that is all fun, engaging, active, social, educational, and physically stimulating. Our activity encompasses all of these traits.